Hey, this is JR St. Julien with the St. Julien Real Estate Group of EXP Realty, and I'm bringing to you my San Diego market update for September of 2022. So this market update is all about the numbers. Right now, interest rates have climbed above 7%. Inflation, or the CPI number that the government used to measure inflation, is sitting right around 8.3%, and home prices have come down off their peak in May, approximately 10%. So what does that mean, and what should we expect going forward? Well, the bottom line is what to expect going forward is really going to be dependent on what the Fed does in response to inflation. And so far, and especially based on their last Fed meeting that was just last week, they've announced that they intend to continue to raise the federal funds rate through next year. And there's no plans at this point in time to lower that rate. So the general consensus from most economists on the backside of that meeting is that we can expect the rates to continue to rise. And that's a little bit contradictory to what I was hoping for and what I expected. So now that rates are above 7% and they can potentially even go higher, the big question is, how will that affect the housing market? Whereas I mentioned, home prices are down from their peak in May, approximately 10%. Now I expect, due to continued rise in interest rates, that there will be continued pressure on home prices. How much will that push the home prices down? That's hard to say because it's really dependent on how high the mortgage interest rates get. So potentially, if we continue to raise interest rates, it is very likely that home values will continue to be suppressed, and we can see an additional 10, maybe even 20% drop in those values. Now those numbers don't really sound pretty, but I would like to address that from kind of the big picture perspective. If you remember, buying real estate is a long game. And so if you tend to be in a property for 5 to 10 years, none of this news really matters to you whatsoever. It's just good information to know, just so you know what's going on in the world and what's going on in the economy and what's going on in the San Diego economy specifically. But in general, it doesn't really matter because in the long run, home values will always go up. Now that being said, if you are in a position where you're thinking about buying a home, but you know you may have to move or sell in the next 2 to 3 years, now may not be a good time to do so. But I do get the question a lot, especially right now, considering the market environment, is now a good time to buy a home? Well, it depends. And what it depends on is, one, can you afford to buy a home in the current environment? If you can, then maybe it's a good time to buy a home. Two, how long do you plan to stay in the home? If that answer is 5 to 10 years, then maybe it's a good time to buy a home. Three, if the home prices come down, is it still a good time to buy a home, or should I wait a little bit? Well, that's something that you definitely want to make sure you have a good understanding of, because as interest rates go up 1%, that costs a typical home buyer that's getting a mortgage approximately 10 to 12% more on their monthly payment. So, since the beginning of the year, interest rates have risen about 4%. So in theory, that's around 45-ish% of more costs that a person buying a home today would have for the same priced home in comparison to the person that bought a home back in January. Now, the home prices have only come down about 10%. So you can see the cost has gone up around 45, the prices have only come down about 10. So you can see there's not an even direct one-to-one ratio there. So if you decide I want to wait because the prices are going to come down and they come down another 10%, but the cost of your money goes up, say interest rates go up 1.5%, 2%, whatever it may be, that can cost you potentially more than what the home value decreases will gain for you. So the bottom line is, if you plan to be there for an extended period of time, then buy a home, get into the market, establish yourself, and then wait. Because one thing that always happens is real estate will go up over time. It may go down in the near future, but it will come back up. And San Diego is a landlocked city that is still struggling with supply. Even in this environment, we don't have enough supply. We're sitting around 1.5 months of supply of inventory as of the end of August. That's not a lot of supply. So now, if you're thinking about potentially selling a home in the next 1 or 2 years, but you have the flexibility and freedom to maybe execute that sale sooner, you may think about making that sale happen sooner rather than later. Because as I mentioned, the rising interest rate environment that we're in is causing pressure on home prices. So therefore, people that are selling their home today are going to get less for their home than what they would have gotten back in April or March. And I would expect going forward, people selling their home in a month from now will likely get less from what they would have gotten from that sale if they sold it today. So if you are thinking about selling, and this is something that you're considering, you definitely want to reach out to an agent. You can reach out to me. I would love to chat with you about that because you may want to do it sooner than you were initially planning. Now, whenever you do that, as I mentioned in many videos prior, in this type of environment, the presentation of that home and how it's presented in the market is one of the most important things that will result in you getting the most possible money out of that home sale. So you need to make sure, whether you're working with me or someone else, that they know how to guide you through properly preparing that home for market, taking the professional photos, taking professional videos, and marketing the hell out of that home to make sure that you do get the maximum amount of money from that sale. Again, I'm J.R. St. Julien, and hopefully this September 2022 San Diego Market Update was helpful for you. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. I love to talk real estate, and I would love to answer any questions that you may have. All of my contact information will be either below or following this video. Hope to talk to you soon. Take care.